Justin Ellis here with Comp Legends, and we are going to talk about the Open 22.1. We're using this as the challenge because guess what? Everybody pretty much in CrossFit is going to be doing the same thing. So we're going to have our write-up on the website. I'll share a link with that if you want to take a look at it after this. If you're listening and you have any other assessments of this workout or any comments or strategies you like to apply to this one and want to comment, leave one below. And let's see how this one goes in the week 1 22.1. Here it is. I think everybody already knows what the workout is by Friday. A lot of y'all are gearing up to do it probably tonight, maybe at your local gym or local box. 22.1 Friday Night Lights kind of situation. We will. And here's my take on it for this week. 15-minute AMRAP. And we've got 3 wall walks, 12 dumbbell snatches, 15 box jump overs. And we're going to break this one down by each movement. So the first takeaway, and we're going to go right into it. Wall climbs introduced last year. Standards are different this year. And as an affiliate owner, I'm pretty happy about it because ultimately it's a standard measurement. We've got a guy's standard at 60 inches and a lady's standard at 55. And then it's a 10-inch standard off the wall. This makes Friday Night Lights and just class after class a lot easier to do. Generally, with the athletes that we've already had complete it, I haven't seen a whole lot of issues with the different heights in athletes. I think one of our taller athletes brought this up, and it made a lot of sense, which was, taller athletes don't have a lot of advantages here in CrossFit. This might be a little bit of an advantage, being that you don't have to reach out in front if you're a little bit taller. If you're a little bit shorter, you're going to have to start with a weird position of hands. But it almost immediately kind of comes out of play because you're going to get those 2 feet on the wall, and then the hands will start moving. So I don't know. That's still yet to be determined if this was a good standard or not, being that it's the first time they've ever done this standard. So with the wall climbs, a big tip here that we took away from last year, and we saw it again even in the folks that were competing in the announcement, but getting the feet up the wall fast, and then when you're coming down, get some big reach there, big steps, if you will, on those hands. The first time we ever did this, a lot of people are inching up those toes up the wall, and then yes, you want to be under control, but you are fairly inefficient if you're having to take a lot of small steps either way, down or up. And if you don't get those feet up really, really fast, then you're having to, fight that friction up the wall the entire time. So get some big first steps and have almost your feet where they need to land by the time you even start using those shoulders up the wall. That part's a little different for some athletes. I think it's a good tip. But coming back down, I think most people can practice this, which is reach. Get out there, get to the line, get the feet back down as quickly as possible. Time under tension is maybe one of the bigger things here with these wall climbs. The longer it takes you to get up and down, I think the more it's going to affect you. Dumbbell snatches. We see it almost every year in the Open. We saw it last year in a different form, different workout. But in this one, 12 reps at a time, unbroken is pretty much the only strategy to go here. I think if you have to break up this dumbbell snatch, you're maybe fighting for a personal goal or whatever. But if we're talking maybe the top 10% to move on and just challenge yourself, maybe you haven't ever done a workout like this and went completely unbroken. I think this is one of the movements that you got to go unbroken. You're obviously going to play with that grip coming up. A big tip here for me would be to loosen up the grip at the top. You're going to have to transition anyway, but try to release that hand off that, not throw it, not completely release it, but loosen up that grip at the top each time so that there's not this death grip. And yes, we're not getting on toes to bar or pull-ups in this workout, but you just start, you put more tension in that grip area. It does affect those wall climbs to a certain degree. And it's going for 15 minutes. If this was going for 8 minutes or 7 minutes, I don't know if it would factor in as much. 15 minutes and as many rounds as we're going to be trying to shoot for in this one, I think loosening that grip just a little bit should help in the long run. And, of course, the transitions here, you know, they need to be pretty much eye level, drop into the next rep. Competitively, I would never coach this necessarily, you know, in a regular class. But you're going, you know, as long as this weight is pretty light for you, you know, most of these athletes are kind of bending over and really putting it into the lower back and a little bit of the glutes and hamstrings, of course. But maybe they're saving those hamstrings for the box jumps, you know, the power off the ground there. And you'll see a lot of people bending over on these dumbbells. But if this weight at all feels heavy for you and you've never done this before, I would definitely not suggest doing it the first time in the open with all the encouragement, basically, all the peer pressure to move quickly. It's not the time to start testing competitive strategies there. Then we move over to the box jumps to finish the round with 15 reps, the highest volume of any of the movements, and kind of the cardio, you know, the heart rate thumper of the workout. And a big question here is squat or not squat. I think it can go either way. It just depends on how fast you want to go there and if it's affecting that heart rate drastically. You should be able to come off these box jumps, and there is a measurement, a setup that you have to comply with. Everybody's going to have to. I think it's 9 feet from the wall. And that's your transition break. So you should, in that 9 feet from the box, you should definitely, once you get to the wall, be able to start your first wall walk. But if for some reason you're not being able to, then address how fast you're moving on the boxes. Because you get a rep or two ahead of somebody on the boxes because you burn out, is not going to help if they get right on the wall and start kind of doing the hard part of the workout, the grunt of the workout. And I got to see a little bit of the Danielle Brandon and Bethany Shadburn, and she was able to maintain her heart rate and get back on the wall and speed up her boxes by squatting, whereas Bethany wasn't. So squat, I think, is going to help you move a little bit faster. Obviously, you're not extending, and we can't jump. We can't jump down. That's big for me. I love rebounding, and they're not going to let you do that. If you're not sure, try them before. But it's very mechanical on this box. You should have the same steps every single time. I've never learned how to dance or tango, but I would imagine this is the closest thing to it for a CrossFitter. The box shuffle or the box tango, if you will. Other question I'm going to ask here, I don't really have an answer for it. We do have an athlete or two that's going to apply some of these reps, but completely jumping over the box. They said that was good and clear as long as you're inside of the box throughout the rep. Obviously, you're still not going to rebound on this, even if, I mean, technically you could if you could, but I don't see somebody doing that. And the only reason I have some athletes that might use some of these reps is they're extremely tall and athletic, and it burns their legs up a lot more if they're jumping in that squat, and of course even if they're standing out of the squat, the box is just short for them. So I still think it's going to be, you know, you're going to want to get on the box and step back down, but it's something to ask for sure. So again, this is the 15-minute AMRAP. That's a couple tips and pointers that I have. And this is early on in this workout. We're day really 2, I guess, Friday morning, and looking at some stuff that we've already seen through this workout on the leaderboard and my projections as far as, I think most people, if you're competitive in CrossFit, whether you're going to make it to the games or not, what I like about the quarterfinals now is that 10% is definitely doable for a lot of athletes that are, you know, consistent in the gym on a weekly basis, but have other jobs and have other, you know, portions of their life, but they are living the lifestyle of a CrossFitter. So looking at North America specifically, and that's the top 10% that I'm going to focus on in this episode, but we see the top right now as of Friday, 367. Well, is that? Yeah, 367 reps. Why did she get a second but first? I'm confused on that part. Let me refresh this a little bit. If you're looking at my screen, this monitor, It I'm guessing. Okay, so I guess that you don't get 1 point for first. You must get two. Okay, so we'll just go with that. Let me check the men on that one. No, that's confusing. So the men, first place, gets 1 point, and right now the women's is getting 2 points for some reason. Okay, so right now I'm seeing higher numbers on the women's side in this leaderboard, and I kind of, in my mind, in theory, we're dealing with each rep having maybe a certain distance to travel. In wall balls, there's a shorter 1 foot up, 1 foot down than men's. And I typically see, like, if you did Karen, both athletes, a man and a woman, would go unbroken on that. A woman would finish a couple reps ahead. It's not a huge amount, but the ball just doesn't have to travel. So at 150, it might be 10 reps by the end of that, or something like that. I don't know the exact math or science. And then I started thinking maybe we see something similar to the wall walks. They got 55-inch mark to a 60-inch mark, and if they were using the same energy and the same output. So then I start taking that into average, consider that to average scores coming out. Same thing with the box jump over. There's a couple inches there to make up. Is there enough to make a huge difference there? Right now, we do see some higher scores on the top of the leaderboard for women. But as I went into diving into some of the numbers of what scores are out and what I'm projecting as the top 10%, what are you going to need to accomplish in this workout for the top 10%? And I'm taking what we have as information right now. Technically, if you were in the top 10% as of right now on the men's side, you would have to complete about 243 reps. That's 8 rounds and starting 9. And that's definitely a goal. I think there's going to be some good CrossFitters in the gym that can get 8 rounds, especially if there's a specialty here for them, okay? And if there's not really a specialty, but they're an overall pretty good CrossFitter, I think they can make up some room there somewhere else and still get close to that, right? Maybe be in the 11th or 12th percentile, and you still have a really good shot there. So, right? But if you want to start in the top 10%, it's projecting 243. Now, I'm going to project, because, we're still going to get some really big top scores to come in, right? A lot of people hold on to those scores till Monday. But you're also out of right now, I think there was 18,000 scores in for North America men. You're going to get a lot more of the under average scores, I guess, to flow in as the weekend concludes and Monday comes in as well. But there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of scores in right now as early as it is. And we're also going to have repeats. So I wanted to modify that because I don't think these are the numbers that even these athletes are going to stick with. I might be a little conservative on this, but I think the goal here to be in the top 10% to start week 1, you'll need to be around 255 reps on the men's side. Now, oddly enough, based on the little bit of research that I've done on the women's side, I figured the numbers would have to be a little bit higher based on, like I said, some of how these reps travel, the distance, I mean. But on average, through the numbers that we had to be in the top 10% right now as of Friday, you would have to score 220. So it was a significant difference, really, about 23 reps. But there was about 4,000 scores less in for the women. That's a little under 8 rounds, and you would start your open off in the top 10%. Now, again, keeping the factors in of how many scores are still to come in, and some of the big scores, maybe the competitive scores to come in a little bit later. Which I say that I don't think that's as popular as it is anymore now, because top 10% is a lot easier to do than finish in the top 20 of your region. So now we're just trying to put up a good score, get to the next week. But there still will be that competitiveness within the gym, within the regions and stuff like that. So my projection there, and again, I think this is going to be a little underwhelming on what's going to be, but I'm going to say 230 reps on the women's side. So that's 10 more than what we see right now. The likelihood is those numbers are a little low, and men, you're going to have to be punching about 260 plus, and women, you could be easily starting to see closer to 240 for the top 10%. But again, if our goal is to be top 10, and this is not a great workout for us, and we can punch 220 or 240 on the men's, 220 on the women's, and we're in that 12th percentile, that 13th percentile, or whatever, and we still know there's going to be a banger for us later on, I think that's still a really, I think you completed what your mission was for that week, right? So again, that's just some projections based on the numbers that are in, and this early, which again, there's still a lot of numbers that I didn't figure this many numbers would be in there. 18,000 on the men's side plus, and 14,000 plus on the women's side in North America. That's not considering the globe on that. So anyway, that's just a couple factors that I'm thinking about in this one. Of course, hopefully some of these tips and tricks for those individual movements might help you. We'll have this all published on the website. We'll share that link with. And if you have some different strategies on this one, let us know. I think it is a pretty simple one. I think it's a grunt style workout. Not a lot of technicality as far as any one of these movements. I mean, even a dumbbell snatch is not really like a technical, not like the barbell at least. And I think the biggest technical thing for some is going to be the fact that they can't rebound on the box. So I'm curious to hear what you think about this. Think about the standards on the measurements, on the step down, and then seeing the wall climbs again after such a devastating wall climb workout. And I think one other thing I want to hear from you, if you got an answer, if you have an opinion, is this, big question, is this a Dave Castro? Is this one of the last Dave Castros? Or did we, I might be asking a dumb question because did something come out on that? But I don't think there has been. Is there still a question? Did they use this program? Did they not? It just feels still very much like CrossFit of the past. Throwing in the wall climbs, the dumbbell snatches. But the only thing that's funny to me is the box jump standard. So I don't know. Could it be a Castro with changes? I'm curious to see what you think. Post it down below. And good luck on this one. We'll see y'all in week 2.